Thank you for tuning in to the first edition of the Shakeout, presented by Creighton Cross Country. I'm your host for the week, Aaron Chalstrom, and I'm the assistant coach with Blue Jay Men's Tennis. I am joined this week by head cross country coach Chris Gannon, sub 4 miler and assistant coach Matthew Fayers, and volunteer extraordinaire Dakota Dixon. Welcome everyone, and thank you for letting me be a part of the Shakeout this week. I've heard a lot about the cup.
Thanks for hosting, man.
I've heard a lot about this cup, and I'm excited to follow along this fall. This is going to be fun. So let's get started here with you first, CG. Can you briefly explain a little bit about this last weekend's event and what it entailed?
Yeah, so we wanted to kick things off and get racing as soon as we could. At the same time, with the schedule and everything being put on hold from the fall, our training is about 2 weeks behind, or what we thought it'd be about 2 weeks behind, just based on us knowing that theoretically, in July, August, that our season would get pushed back. So we adjusted our training schedule a little bit. So we didn't want to jump into a full big true cross country race this first week, which would normally have been on our schedule, but we still wanted to give our kids to compete throughout the whole fall. So instead of going true cross country, we went more of with a true time trial, if you will. So all the athletes, female athletes, the women's team ran 12 minutes all out, and then our men's team ran 13 minutes all out, and then we collected distances. So the furthest distance was the winner, and then within scoring wise, what we did is the top 3 finishers within each team accumulated points just like you would in a cross country meet. And we added those together to get our team scoring based off those individual places. And that scoring is going to continue throughout the fall for our overall teams as well as our individual champions. So
Nice. So just kind of getting into the results of the weekend, Coach Fayer's team narrowly beat out Coach Gannon's 68.5 points to 68. Team Todak was not too far behind with 58 points. Coach Fayers, let's start with you. Give me your overall thoughts on the weekend and your team's performance.
Yeah, obviously a win's a win, even if it's by half a point. And ultimately, for the next 2 weeks, bragging rights to Team Fayers. So when I told the athletes, they got the message a couple of hours after the race was over. So it took a little bit to calculate, and they were thrilled, regardless of a narrow point victory. And it's kind of something we were aiming for. We wanted to go for the win. Unfortunately, not being able to be side by side our competitors, it did lead to quite a close affair. So some of these points were separated by about 10 meters or so. And so you have a couple meters here or there, and there's a complete different swing. We could have easily lost by 3 points. We could have won by 3 points by a margin of 30 meters. But to get week one as a win, that's great. But moving forward, we know that the season's long. We need to keep at it. But we also know that now, Team Fayers, we were arguably the preseason favorites, and now we've got a target on our back. And so I've told the athletes, get ready, because they're going to be coming for you. They're going to be sitting on you.
Well, a lot of motivation from Coach Fayers. I love it. CG, how do you think your team fared for their first time out?
yeah, you know what? We came out and we performed pretty well. I was not surprised with Danny Bonneman's victory. I was shocked by his margin of victory, which was almost 200 meters, which is astonishing, quite honestly. Nobody within 200 meters, and then after that 200 meters, there was a whole group of people, and so he's clearly right now the number one guy. We'll be honest about that, and that's something to be excited about. Then on the girls' side, Morgan, she tied for second. A little bit of a technology snafu there. There was maybe we actually would have got Coach Fayers' team and had a dead heat tie. But sometimes Garmin and technology causes some hiccups. But, we'll definitely take where we're at right now. We know it wasn't our best day of racing. That was the thing our team talked about. We had a good day. There's some good things that came of it, but we all know that we can be better. We all know that there was some mistakes made, some execution that didn't happen. And that was the conversation within our camp, once the results were posted, that, like Fayer said, it is a close competition. And these kids are all friends off the course. They live together and everything else. But day of, when it's time to go, it's time to go. And we're going to address a few things that we can improve on for next week, and we'll execute those a little better.
Okay. And finally, Coach Dixon, what was the discussion like with your team post-race?
Yeah, we're happy to give Team Fairs and Team Gannon the head start here for the beginning of the season so that it seems more of a fair race at the end when we take home the cup. But overall, since this is the first time they've really had to switch to race mode in several months, it was good to see them finally click into that, and we're extremely excited to see how they progress throughout the season.
Exciting. So moving here to the individual portion, Team Fairs won the women's division with his lead runners finishing 1st, 4th, and 5th. His team was led by Danielle Hodeling winning the women's division. Fairs, can you comment on her performance?
Yeah, it was just a classic Danielle Hodeling race. Just go out hard, hang on. Kind of talked before the season that this is a great team, and Danielle's definitely one of the leaders of that team, and some might even call her the Maurice Richard of the, when we compare to those Canadians team, and she's definitely making a case for that Hall of Famer kind of ballot going forward. Kind of hopefully moving forward, we continue to get that out of her. This race we were without our pacer for her, so Danielle's actually designated a pacer just due to previous kind of races under her belt. So moving forward, having a pacer, we hope to see those margins of victories even larger. But overall, apart from Danielle, great performance from the women's team. Very, very proud of them and what they did.
Right. Siobhan Stoll of Team Todak finished tied for 2nd. Coach Dixon, what can you tell me about her performance?
Yeah, it was really great to see her race debut for us, pulling out a 2nd place for the women. Really excited to see what things are in her future for our team, and overall as a team we just have some really talented, great freshmen, so I think that really bodes well for the future of the team as well.
Moving to the men's side, Coach Gannon's team took the title with his lead runners finishing 1st, 3rd, and 7th. Danny Bonneman took the title to lead the team. CG, what did you think of his showing this weekend?
Yeah, as I mentioned just a minute or two ago, I think Danny's in a great place. He had a good block of training all summer, back into the spring. His time trial in the spring was pretty impressive for a freshman. So I was expecting that out of Danny, quite honestly. I didn't expect his margin of victory to be quite as extensive as it was, but and then Tommy put a great performance out there as well for a freshman. Both of our freshmen on the guys' side, finished in our top 4. Collectively, even though they're not both on my team, I'll still vouch for that freshman class. Same thing on the girls' side. Our freshman girls, all 4 of them finished in the top 7 overall, which is impressive. We've said all along that, collectively as a program, best recruiting class in the history of the school, and that's starting to show already. The fact that on the girls' side, our 2 of our freshman girls tied for 2nd, it's impressive, and we're excited about that and what that means for our program moving forward.
I know you've mentioned being super excited about the current freshman class, but I also know you have redshirt senior Chase Howard, who placed 2nd in the men's division. Coach Dixon, can you kind of comment on his performance and what it means to have him leading your team?
Yeah, it's always really great to see upperclassmen take the lead for the team, and he did really great. Again, just like with everyone else making their debut for this race season, and hopefully he'll pull out a win for the next race. But this was a good time to get back into the swing of things, and we're excited to see where it leads from here.
Gotcha. Okay. I guess this is a question kind of open to anyone, and I know we've kind of talked a little bit already, but was there any performances either on the men's or the women's side that really stood out or surprised either of you?
I can go first. Kind of talking about some of the girls on my side. I think if you're not been kind of following the program, one of the freshmen, Jess, you'd consider a surprise. Coach Gannon and myself obviously are not overly surprised with her, but on paper you look at her and she's a classic 800-meter girl, low mileage, and comes right into the program and just solidifies her spot with a 5th place finish. And if we did have a traditional season, what she would do as one of those scoring spots would be great, and kind of unexpected. So to see her as a mid-distance runner to kind of show out on her first day, and when we've got fitness to gain, definitely kudos to her. And then Ashley Riley, I think, was a very underrated performance. Not scoring any points for Team Fayers as a fourth scorer, but to have your fourth girl tying for sixth place, I guess just shows the depth of Team Fayers. So Ashley Riley is not going to get any huge accolades for her performance, but for Team Fayers, definitely an unsung hero. And if anything was to a hiccup with some of the other runners, she's there to step right up. So having Ashley Riley as the anchor right now, I think could surprise a few people. And she's definitely in a great spot, continuing from a great indoor campaign.
CG, anything stick out to you surprise-wise?
I can't say there was a whole lot of surprises. I mean, talking with the athletes as much as I did throughout all of the quarantine and being sent home and COVID and this summer and everything, I knew where people's training was. Marguerite had a great day. I was impressed with her tenacity and her fire and just her hard work on the girls' side, and she kind of picked off exactly where she left off last fall. So that was great to see. We've got on the guys' side, I'll give Aiden King some props. Aiden put forth a great performance. Going into the last 60 seconds of that race, he probably was actually in second place from a distance perspective. He was ahead of Chase in that last 60 seconds, and Chase pulled away just at the end there. So Aiden, Aiden had a good summer training block as well. Jackson Stamper, coming off of some return to run injury protocols, performed really well. Aaron Smith raced for the first time in over a year. It was awesome to see her out there. I know she didn't have the performance that she was looking for, but same thing with Chris Smith. Chris Smith and put in some hard work to race for the first time in almost in over 2 years now. And so it was just great to see some of those people have the opportunity to compete, for us to be healthy. Caroline Pass, I'm looking forward to, she is on my team. Looking for her being back in the healthy bucket, back to full training. She put forth a great workout this past week as well. So I'm actually pretty pleased with where we're at, coming off the things big picture wise, and I'm excited to keep moving forward with what we've got.
I guess, Coach Dixon, we can kind of start with you with this next question. As your team maybe had the lowest number of points, what are maybe specific areas your team can maybe improve moving forward for the next event?
Yeah, I actually watched a great thing today about at practice treating it as a competition and getting into that mindset of not just hard work but competing as well. So I think putting in that hard work at practice, but also changing the mindset a little bit to treating it as a competition and just doing little things like that mentally to help us focus more and to keep pushing for each race. And that'll be our strategy for this next race coming up.
Yeah. No, I watched that same video. We shared it with our team today and had a really good discussion in our conditioning session just about that same thing. We have to practice being competitive. And I know that's something that I've talked about with some of you guys as well, is how important that is, and definitely see the benefits with your team. CG, I guess, what do you think are any areas of improve maybe with your team?
I think the biggest thing for us is just execution. Jack Larson, theoretically a freshman, third-year freshman. Next year he'll be a fourth-year freshman. Jack immediately, as soon as that race was over, he wasn't happy with it. He's like, I was honest with him. I was like, no, Jack, it wasn't a great race from you. And I know that Jack can execute better. I know that Bryce can execute better. So on the guys' side, I think we're in a great place. On the girls' side, Katie Fukushima was injured, didn't race. She tweaked her hamstring during the week, and Caroline Pass is continuing to come back from her health status. And then I look for Caroline J to continue to make moves as well. I'm pretty excited about where our team is right now. We got some great workouts in this next past week and this week coming ahead, and I think we're going to execute pretty well this following week. I think it was good for us just to get our feet wet racing again. A lot of these kids haven't raced in a long time, especially some of these freshmen across the board. They haven't towed the line, most of them, since November, so 10 months ago. Right. and most of our kids haven't raced since February or potentially November. So just to be able to back out there was good. And I think some of those nerves and things like that, to get those out of the way, it'll enable us to just execute better, here a week from now.
I know, Fairs, we've talked a lot about your freshmen, and we also talked a little bit about this being their first chance to really race and compete. I guess, so for you, Fairs, what is maybe the biggest difference that you see maybe between a high school meet and then transitioning into college for some of these freshmen?
Right now it's kind of difficult to gauge that just because we are racing in such a non-traditional format. So I think for some of these freshmen, this type of environment was incredibly strange. Even for our upperclassmen, you're racing as a group of 4 or a group of 3. And so that's incredibly uncommon. But at the same time, these freshmen really are just being put in the middle of it right away. They're put with a 5th-year senior on, team toe deck. They're put with juniors, some of the best girls on the team, best guys on the team, and they're just told, hey, stick with them for as long as possible. And so to kind of have those expectations thrown at them right away, it speaks kind of to our confidence in them, but also what we kind of can expect of them going forwards. We're not going to baby these freshmen. They're definitely key contributors, as seen by, on the women's side, as Gannon said, you have all the freshmen in the top 7, and in the guys, you have all of them in the top 5. And so to kind of have those expectations as a college athlete, it might be a little different to a high schooler where maybe there's not as much pressure. You're kind of expected to do your thing up front, and maybe what goes on behind you isn't particularly important. So definitely a very strange season, but these freshmen are definitely going to compete with everyone else in this league.
I guess maybe my final question here before we close is, what have you guys been working on most in your training, and what are you looking forward to most as you prepare for the next event here in a couple of weeks?
Yeah, I think, like I mentioned, we're 2 weeks behind schedule in training right now. And then on top of that, our first week of practice is blazing hot. Lots of restrictions right now with masks and having to run with masks, and on top of heat. The fact that we're practicing separate genders right now, men's, women's program due to COVID. We've never done that before. And so that's been a lot of adjustments. There's been a lot of programming adjustments, a lot of things that just in a traditional year we'd have more workouts behind us. We would have more total workload behind us. We really haven't gotten into some difficult workouts until probably the last 10 days, I would say. And normally we'd be 3 weeks into tough workouts right now. So been just a lot of base work right now leading up to this. We got after it Tuesday morning. I had a great workout yesterday morning before the bad weather rolled in, and we're going to get after it again tomorrow. And so I think that's to me the biggest thing that our athletes are going to see is they're going to start getting into some of those zones that are tough to hit on your own, over the summer of training or COVID training, to get into that spot where things start to hurt a little bit, the legs burn, the lungs are on fire. And so that fitness will start to take a pretty quick jump as we start to train those aspects of our race readiness and those body systems.
Yes, Coach Dixon, what are you looking forward to most here in the training, preparing for the next event?
I'm just looking forward to the fact that we are able to still practice. I think that's the biggest positive aspect that we can see for the season so far, is that we are still able to practice in groups, and even though it is divided a bit, we're still able to get out there and do what we love to do, and looking forward to keeping that up for the next few months too.
Yes, exactly. I know this is something that your team has talked a lot about, but it's something that we've started to talk about with our guys as well. Is we get to practice right now. We're lucky to be able to practice, and yeah, maybe it might not be under the best circumstances, or it's not our normal practice sessions or routines, but it's a lot better than sitting at home, not being with your buddies, not being able to practice. And so having that mindset, I think, is something that's really important, and just really enjoying the process and being at Creighton right now. So I guess, do you have any closing thoughts here, CG?
No, man, I appreciate you taking the time out of your evening to be the first host of the Shakeout, man. That's quite the honor. I hope you include that on your resume. You know, we're excited, as you said, to get to. And that's something that we've tried to focus a lot on. You know, when the season was canceled, the first thing I said, you know, even in my statement that went public is that we're going to have an eyes up attitude and a get to mindset. And that's something that we've continued to preach. And we've been talking about eyes up and get to around here for a couple of years now. This wasn't just something that came out with COVID, but that we're always eyes up, looking towards the future and how we can be better and the next opportunity in front of us. And that we're always reminded that this is something that we get to do, you know, that we get to run, that we get to be at Creighton, that we get to be with our teammates. And I think if we keep those two things at the focus of who we are as a team, that we're going to continue to break down barriers and do things that have never been done around here before.
Agreed. Well, thank you everyone for letting me be your host this week. I appreciate you inviting me on. I love following along with the cup. I love following along and talking with you guys in the office. So thank you for joining us for this week's edition of the Shakeout with Creighton Cross Country. I'm your host, Aaron Chalstrom. Eyes up and go Jays.
Thanks, Aaron.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was really good. CG, I